Hello, everyone. Welcome to Inclusive Collective, where we share stories and learnings of inclusive people, organizations, and innovation. I am your co-host, Rob Hadley, people and culture strategist, specializing in DE&I and people analytics. I am here with my friend, who is a little bit more mature these days, Nadia Butt, an organizational development and belonging strategist. Nadia,
Wait,
how are you?
well, I'm doing well, but why am I more mature? I feel like, if anything, you are more.
I'm definitely less mature. We did not touch on your birthday, your anniversario, as we
Oh,
say. We
yeah.
we never
Yeah.
even so last week, just how was it?
Yes. It was last week. It was really good. My parents both forgot about my birthday.
Which
No
is
joke. My brother, who usually forgets, was the first person to text me.
well, that's nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had to remind my dad. I'm dad sitting right now because my mom is visiting family in Pakistan. I said Pakistan weird, Pakistan. And so
Yeah, yeah. You said it like
Um,
I would say it.
I said it how Rob would say it.
Pakistan. Yeah.
Pakistan. And so I had finished some meetings and I went downstairs like dinner time and dad was gonna take me out for dinner and he was already in his pajamas. And I was like, Dad, are we going to dinner? He's like, why are we going to dinner? I was like, it's my birthday.
Sure.
Felt like I was 16. And he was like, he like jumps right up. He's like, oh my gosh, it's your birthday. And then like
Uh,
he goes in and changes, and then we go out for dinner, and then I pay for it.
I I I like that he came clean though, right? Like,
He
because
did.
he could have just been like, oh, right, right. This is
Yeah, I think
I
that would make
was
me feel so bad, right? Well, it's funny because usually my mom is the one that would remind him that it's my birthday, but she's not here, right? She's in Pakistan.
right,
At
right.
Pakistan. And so what's
That is
even more funny
that's
is,
her
like,
role, right?
that's her role, and then, like, later on that evening, I was FaceTiming with my mom, and she's, like, passing the phone around so I can see my cousins and talk to my cousins, and then we're getting off the phone, I was like, "Do you wanna say happy birthday to me?" And she's like, "Oh my gosh, it's your birthday, happy birthday." Like, no,
Uh,
like, my parents didn't remember, and I was like, "I'm your favorite child. How do you not remember my birthday?"
I think you answered your question.
I
Yeah, if
know,
you're
yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's I call that type of reaction Father's Day is for me.
Oh.
Right? I'm like, is there anything you want to tell me? Something that
Anything you
I
have to say?
am?
That's hilarious.
Well, I'm glad they pulled it together. Maybe,
Yeah,
maybe not. But
same.
happy birthday
Oh,
from me.
thank
And
you.
I was thinking I have a crush of birthdays right in a row. So like
Yeah,
that's this is November. And so the fact that you're in there as well now.
yeah,
So
and your
November
son's
is
birthday's
birthday
coming
month for
up.
me.
Yeah.
It is yeah, it was last week as well.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's
Right.
right, yep.
Yeah. So good stuff.
Good
November's
stuff.
birthday month. So what do we got this week?
Let me do a little preview for this week. So this week on Inclusive Collective, we will be talking to Talia Cannistra, partner and managing director of design at Port One Companies, about her rise in the male-dominated world of architecture and construction. We'll also check out Walmart's plans to continue sensory-friendly hours and diversity in the issuance of corporate bonds. And later, Rob, you're going to rant about ex Twitter's owner. Can't wait to hear that. And I'll rave about one artist's efforts to promote banned books. But first, let's get to the deets.
All right.
Shall I go first?
What do you yeah, what do you
Okay,
got for us,
well,
Nadia?
let's go with the D's here. So, yeah, really cool news here. The nation's largest retailer, Walmart, had piloted a customer experience program where they offered sensory friendly hours each day at every one of its stores across the country. It was so successful that in terms of getting like customer feedback and even employee feedback, that it's
Mhm.
now a permanent fixture. So from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. daily at all stores across the country, the stores will lower their overhead lights, turn off radios, replace moving pictures with static ones on televisions, making it a little more conducive for shoppers and employees living with disabilities and sensory sensitivity. Um, Rob, what are your reactions to that?
So, one, my question is, Nadia, have you been to Walmart at 8 AM? Do you
N
d or
Um, I
how
I
is
don't
Walmart
even
part
I
of your
don't
life at all? It's not up
not
there, right?
really. I feel like maybe 10 years ago, I went, like, to Walmart on Black Friday and at, like, 6 a.m., and I was like, "I'm out," at
Yeah.
6:05.
There was a brawl broke out.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had enough.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
so
chaos, not right? Like, on steroids.
it's close to me. I actually like it. I actually do go because if I ever have to go, then I do it after I drop my son off. So I actually go during this time, and I actually have noticed
Huh?
a different clientele, maybe because it's 8 o'clock in the middle of the week. I don't
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
but I really like. There's a lot of positive things. We've talked about Walmart a couple of times on the show in positive, in positive terms, right?
Yeah.
We used to hate Walmart. Everyone used to hate Walmart, but then we
Uh-huh.
met Amazon,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And we realized that the only thing worse than having just one giant store in your community is having zero stores at all.
Yeah, right.
But so I give them a lot of credit. I think they do a
Well,
lot of
because
good
they
stuff.
employ a lot of people, right? Like, they employ a lot of people, they're big in the communities where there's not a
Yeah, and
lot
I
of
think that
things.
but I think in terms of the DEI stuff that they do that I see coming out of them, so I
Mhm.
like the reporting that they do. I find it very transparent as far
Mm.
as large company reporting goes. So I hold them up as a positive example in some of the talks that I do. And I would love if for this particular initiative, if they said we're doing this because we have seen an increase in sales, right? So I think that they've gotten some pretty good feedback, but there must be, in addition to getting good feedback from customers, there's either efficiency gain there, or they're seeing better traffic in certain stores. So
Sure,
I'd love
sure.
to hear more
And
about it, but
well, and
really
they
like,
said they yeah, really like it. They said that they're doing this, of course, for their clients, like their customers, but they said they're also doing this for their employees. So
yeah,
so like even just employee satisfaction of maybe there are folks living with disabilities or who have sensory sensitivity, and maybe those are the hours that they work every morning. So
that's amazing.
yeah, so really, really, good stories here. Seem to really be enjoying and grateful for those changes.
Awesome, awesome. Good job,
Yeah.
Walmart.
Good
Well,
job, Walmart.
let's talk bonds. You want to talk bonds?
Sure, let's talk bonds.
So now you may not know this about me, but early in my career, there was a path that I was on that would have landed me on like a bond trading floor, bond trading desk.
Like
Did you know
on
this?
Wall Street. I feel like I knew
Yeah, I
that.
mean,
Yeah.
I could have been the Wolf of Wall Street. I could have
I
been
feel like
living in
you
Connecticut.
missed yeah, you
I
missed a
know.
beat there.
I I could have been on like a second or third wife by now, right? Like, and that was the path that
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 was
was
destined for you. Yeah.
um but I saw this report yesterday, so I had to talk about it. uh there was a Bloomberg report that 62% of blue chip bond transactions used an arranger firm that was led by a woman or a person of color, and that's up from 24% a
Oh, wow.
decade earlier. that's a that's a
That's
pretty big, it's a
that's
big
a big
shift, at least in the
increase.
number. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Companies are pushing banks to align with diverse-led firms when they issue bonds. So firms like Verizon and Amazon are telling banks that if they want their business, when they're issuing debt, that they need to have a non-traditional or non-dominant group led uh, bank or firm or financial firm in the bond deal as well. So
Mhm.
um, really, what would you take?
Mhm.
What
Yeah.
would you think when I said stuff about bonds? I want to
Don't
talk
know
fixed
much
income
about
investing.
that. Yeah. Don't know much about them, but what I will say is that, Wall Street in many ways is, an institution where they already role model, where I shouldn't say role model, where other
Definitely should
organization
say role
yeah,
model.
yeah, where organizations look up to them, right? They have influence, they have power, and could be a role model in demonstrating diversity and diverse partnerships. And so I think like a shift I think in the article it mentioned like big bond issuers and their banks say the shift is proof of their commitment to
Hmm.
leveling a long lopsided playing field in US finance. And I hope that's true and I hope it continues. Um
Yeah,
yeah, so that's what I'll say.
yeah. I mean, it's always hard. So I think you're dead on in terms of the influence that they have, and why Wall Street, whether we like it or not, is very, very important.
Mhm.
But it seems like a big shift. I always worry about the way that banks. I always have a skeptical eye toward banks, right? And so
Mhm.
hopefully these are legitimate partnerships. I don't know what percentage of fees are actually going to the women, or as they call them, people of color led firms, right? So that's something that I'm skeptical about and would love to see more about. But it does seem like there's a tremendous opportunity, right? There could be real opportunity for new types of entrants into the bond market. And people make a lot of money in the bond market, Nadia. Like, I can't even tell
Oh
you.
yeah, so much.
Just people, people that trade bonds are just dripping with money. So there's a lot of opportunity there, I think, for some of the non-traditional firms and more innovative firms as well. So
Mm.
I thought it was a pretty cool thing.
Yeah,
And
no, thanks for sharing
and
that.
I've been and I'm still I was still thinking about that second or third wife. So
Yeah. Well,
we'll
it's funny when you first sometimes you say these jokes that I miss and then I'll catch them later and start dying laughing, but when you first mentioned the word Bond, I thought James Bond, so I was like,
of
"Bond,
course.
James Bond."
Of course.
All right.
Awesome.
Well,
All right. Well,
thanks for
that's for
that.
it for the deets, Nadia. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back with Talia Cannistra, partner and design leader at Port One Companies. Welcome back to Inclusive Collective. Our guest today is Talia Cannistra. Talia is a partner and managing director of design at Port One Companies, a multidisciplinary architectural and interior design development and opportunistic investment firm based in Boston, Massachusetts. Talia graduated from Wentworth Institute of Technology in Boston with her bachelor's and master's degrees in architecture and has worked in the architectural design industry for over 11 years. Coming from a male-dominated school into a male-dominated industry, Talia has quickly risen in her role despite those odds. She says her passion is in the creativity and problem-solving aspects of her work. She loves collaborating with her team and clients and actively works toward creating a meaningful presence in the industry for women leaders. Talia Cannistra, thanks so much for joining us on Inclusive Collective.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Hi Talia, welcome. So good to meet you and thank you for joining us this week. I'm so excited to chat with you, particularly because I have a few clients in the construction space. And I recently attended a gala hosted by the Architecture Foundation of Oregon. My sister-in-law is the executive director for them. And, where part of like their mission is they believe that design should consider diverse perspectives and kind of reflect that, like those views in building environments that provide access and equity for all. So didn't know much about this industry and like been introduced to it this past year and just love it. I want to hear from you, your perspective. As Rob mentioned, you went to a male dominated school, you work in a male dominated industry. How do you think those experiences have informed the work that you do and how you do it?
So, going way back, I actually went to an all girls school in from third grade to ninth grade and realized that there's greatness to that, but there's also, I think, a very necessary balance in who you're surrounding yourself with and who you're working with so that you can learn from different perspectives. And then going from that into a 70% male college actually was an interesting transition because I had to flip the way that I was thinking and interacting with people. And I feel like that's actually super valuable because coming from a women's perspective and a female perspective, you kind of cater yourself a little bit to the male industry or the male perspective. And if you learn how to still hold that female perspective but make it meaningful or make it effective in the male industry, you really are going to get somewhere. And it's a little unnerving at first. But I think that when you put that hat on or when you look at it from that lens, you can kind of navigate the industry a little bit. And then coming into construction, you can take that same thing. I think what's interesting about being in construction is that people wonder why you're there. Who is this person? Is she touring? Is she part of the marketing group? Is she someone's assistant? And that's kind of what you want to change the perspective of. And it's like, no, I'm the architect. I'm here. I'm here to help. I'm here to be a part of this team.
What is the context? Do you give some context in terms of the industries? You said 70% in school? Is it similar in construction, in architecture, and what does it look like at the top of of that industry?
So in construction, I think it's somewhere between 10 to 15% is women.
Mm,
In architecture, there's a little bit of a higher percentage because there is a design aspect to it. I think it does bring women and that mindset into it. And then women in C suites, I feel like I read an article that was around 25%.
Mhm.
So having those different buckets, right? You're in an industry where there's very little women. Then there's the design aspect where you can maybe surround yourself a little bit more, but it's still pretty low. And then leadership in that bracket is even less. So
mm.
when you do meet the people that are similar to you or have that female perspective, you hold them dearly and you kind of talk to each
Oh, I'm
other
sure.
for advice.
I'm
and
sure.
and you touched on it a little bit, but just as a follow up, can you expand on, now that you're a little further into your career, are there examples of how you being different is an advantage or is advantageous now as a leader in the company?
Mm. So within my company, I have four partners. All of them are male, and sometimes when we sit at the table and talk about things, there is sometimes a very logical way of talking about things. There's an emotional way of talking about things, and so I think that a perspective with me having the female perspective, it does help, especially with employees, and talking about maybe some of our client interactions and things like that. And when we work with clients, I think that there's some intimidation factor for architecture as an industry because people don't know about it. People are thinking, an architect just draws drawings that you need for a building permit, or maybe there's some kind of um, perception that we're thinking from a completely different place, or we're trying to make you do something that you don't want to do, which is absolutely not the case at all. So
Mhm.
I think that coming at it from maybe a softer side, or I can talk to you and just make you feel comfortable and understand what we're doing, that definitely helps. And then also, I've created positions within my team that are women that are helping me grow this company and helping me go through the design process with clients. So it's been really nice to have that as like a relationship builder.
Yeah, that's great. I'm curious, like what else is the industry, so not particularly like your company, but like what is the industry doing to address some of the gaps that they're seeing in the workforce within like the industry? Meaning, like, of course, you mentioned, there's a lack of like women. I would venture to guess that like the majority of the people are able-bodied. I would venture to guess that there's a lot of folks that are immigrants or folks that where English is not their is their second language. So I'm just curious, like, what are some of the things that the industry is doing right now to address some of like the gaps of making folks feel more included in the industry and where there's equity built in?
So there are women groups within this Boston Society of Architects or the AIA. There's a lot of different groups or events that do focus on women in the industry and learning from each other and really bringing to light that there are more of us than you'd think, but there are
Yeah.
still not many of us, right? So especially, within certain geographic locations, I'm sure it varies across the country. So I think that having those events and making sure that the different groups are allowing for that space is really nice. And then there's also panels that would love to have at least one woman speaking on it, or
Mhm.
at least one woman's perspective from their position in their company or in their projects. And then also, my company actually right now is going through the application process of becoming a women owned business and actually having that as a WMBE certification. And there are projects, or, yeah, there's different opportunities that are specifically reserved for companies that are minority owned, women owned, anything like that. So it's nice to be able to have that option as well.
Is that a painful process, that certification? How's that been?
A little bit. So it takes it. They ask for a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of back and forth. There's a long review process, but I do have to say it's been pretty streamlined, other than just really needing to have everything together and compiling all the information. So it
Yeah,
does
yeah.
take a while.
You mentioned earlier the that you take it very seriously, creating within your team and making sure that there's diversity, or gender diversity within the team as well. I just wonder, so tell me more about that, but then also as you were gaining traction in your career, like what was the role that others had in helping you get to where you are today, and if there's any examples of people that elevated you as well.
For sure. Yeah. I had an internship when I was in college for a small firm. It was literally the owner of the company and myself. That was the whole company. And he really still to this day is a mentor of mine. And he brought me in and taught me everything he knew. He brought me to meetings. He exposed me to different project types and learning different aspects of what architects do. So having him have confidence in me and really not holding back anything because I was female or because I was a little different. That was really the first step in making me think, okay, I can do this. I'm learning.
Mhm.
He's giving me positive reinforcement. He's supporting me in my growth. I will always be thankful for him for that. And then there's been, aspects of that job too, where it really came to light just how infrequent female on construction sites are. I remember
Mm.
vividly, I went to a construction site with him. We were walking around and I was young at the time. I had just graduated or I was still in college, right? So 21 or 22 years old. And it's, you get looks. It's who is this person? Why are you here? And he talked to me after the fact. He's like, unfortunately, you may need to grow a thick skin around this. You're going to have to make yourself and your presence known. And I remember thinking to myself, that's going to be an interesting hurdle because if I were male, would that maybe not be the case? Right? Would
Mhm.
I not have to explain my presence to people? So thinking about it from there and then just maybe cultivating the relationships over time with
Mhm.
people who respect that and just know that I'm the right person and I am, there to be part of the team and not just because I'm a woman or whatever. It should just not even be a thought, I feel like.
Mhm. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that because I feel like many of our listeners who might be interested in that space of design or architecture or construction, could very well be hopeful for that. I'm curiously if you've observed if the client's expectations have changed over the course of the years. What are you hearing from the clients that you work with, just in terms of like their needs or their expectations of like who they should be working with and partnering with?
Hmm. I have to say, I have been pretty lucky with my clients and with my relationships. A lot of where I've come from has been referral based and repeat client work. So the
Nice.
fact that someone's advocating for me and my company from the get go is a huge help. And then also proving that we're a good partner in their projects and getting that repeat work has been phenomenal. You know, I think their expectations changing, it has really just evolved with where the growth of the projects are and the growth of who they are with who we are. I know that's a little vague, but if we started with them on a two-family renovation, right? And they had a great experience, but now they want to do 4 units or now they want to do 8 units. Their expectation is, I need your help. It's not something where you need to do this for me. So in that sense, I do feel pretty lucky with that. And they fully respect. I feel like once we prove ourselves, they fully respect what's going on.
That's great.
Yeah, Talia, I was, I think Nadia is getting into construction. So I think maybe
Yeah.
next time you'll have us on
Yeah.
site. I
Yep.
think she's
Want my
really starting.
helmet.
Yeah, maybe you send us some. Maybe we can post some of the projects that you do as well. They're super. There's some really cool stuff on the website there at Port One. Just as we wrap up today, just so a couple things. One, a bonus resource. One, can you tell us to get into architecture if you're young, such as my son who's 11? What are the things you need to be good at? And then two, what other resources do you have just along the lines of women breaking into industries where they are very underrepresented, and DEI resources?
Sure. So to get into architecture, you have to be completely in love with it because it is grueling. I will not lie to you that school is very intense, a lot of long hours, lots of sitting in front of something, being so frustrated, but you still really want to solve that problem. It's that puzzle, right? That's just very
Mhm.
satisfying to put the last piece into. And you need to be good at taking a step back and rethinking everything you thought was the right decision. So, you start one path and it's just not working. It's not working at all. Or maybe you think it's great, but your client doesn't. Or maybe the community doesn't really love what the proposal was. So you need to be able to really start fresh and kind of regroup and create another solution that's equally as great, but it's just completely different than from where you started. So having that kind of looseness of thinking is important.
Mhm.
There's a misconception you need to be good at math. You do not need to be good at math.
Oh, that's so funny. I really thought you did. Oh my
We're gonna cut
gosh.
this. We're gonna
I
cut
know.
that piece.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible, actually. Okay. I
Yeah,
really
yeah.
did think you needed to be good at math. Okay.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny. I mean, math was my favorite subject. That's how I got into the field was because I
Sure.
loved math, but I also love art. So architecture is the
Yes.
marrying of those things. But yeah, you don't need it. You just have to calculate slope every once in a while, and that's about
Oh,
it.
Rob. I
Okay,
don't know about that.
moving
Slope.
on.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's good. And then something that I would just say that is a piece of advice that I would love to offer for women getting into any industry that they may not think is for women or is, overly saturated with men is there's two things that I've learned that really have helped me. One is don't take anything personally. This is not about you. It's about whoever is giving you the feedback or it's about the work. And you just take that, learn from it and grow from it. And the other one is to just blast through fear because fear is the number one thing that's going to hinder you. It's not an industry. It's not other people. It's not the work. It's because
Hmm.
you are seeing yourself as not being able to do it or you're scared of it and that's, if you take one step, it's less scary. You
Mhm.
just do it. Just blast through that fear and it's really helped me get to where I'm at now.
That's great.
Well, Talia, thank you so much for joining us today. It was great to have you, and we wish you the best of luck. And come back and see us again.
Thank you so much. I would love to. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for joining us. Stay with us, folks. We'll be right back for our con reflections and raves and rants. Welcome back, folks. We just finished chatting with Talia Cannistra. Such a great conversation. Rob, I really appreciated her highlighting kind of the gender differences within the architecture, design, construction world. When especially when she mentioned like you gotta have thick skin, right? She said like this. I put it in quotes in my notes because I was thinking like, wow, we've over time we've had to like have women or kind of other minoritized groups conform, right, to like what the
Mm-hmm.
dominant
Mm-hmm.
group is, and so I love that she emphasized like she's really trying to kind of push that forward where like it's not about necessarily conforming. It's really about people seeing her and not having to explain her presence, is what she kind of said. What were your thoughts? What were your takeaways?
Yeah, I like that as well. And hopefully through leadership from folks like Talia that as the industry becomes more diverse, that folks that are minoritized or underrepresented, non-dominant in that industry don't have to have such a thick skin, and it becomes much more commonplace. And I would say also, I agree, it was a fantastic interview until it fell apart at the very end when I asked her what people need to do to become architects.
Yeah.
And the answer, Nadia, that I was looking for was they need to do their homework and be good at math. And she really misfired on that. So other than that, she was great. And I do hope that she'll come back and hang out with us again.
Yeah, I hope so too. Well, Rob, should we get to the Raisin Rants for today? I'll go ahead and start off.
I'm
Oh,
ranting.
no, you were
I'm
ranting.
ranting.
Yeah, you go ahead
Yeah,
first.
yeah. So unlike me to rant. All right. So I was looking, I'm big into social media, Nadia, right? I was looking at all the Inclusive Collective social media stuff, and I was like, wow, wouldn't it be cool if Twitter, or whatever it is called, was okay, right? This week, you may have seen that our old friend, I don't know how to pronounce his name, it's Elon Musk. I don't know what it is. He appeared to support anti-Semitic posts promoting a conspiracy theory that Jewish people are bringing non-white immigrants to the U.S. to replace white people.
Oh my.
IBM said that it was pulling its ads after its ads were shown side by side with anti-Semitic and anti-Islamic posts. So I just don't know what it's in it for any company to be on this platform at this point. And it's just kind of unfortunate, that hopefully, hopefully at some point ownership of that platform turns over and it's something that we can embrace again.
Yeah. Well, embrace again. I don't know about that, but yeah, I really do fear, Rob, this next year with like elections coming, or like presidential elections coming up, and of course the war. There's just I fear the amount of phobia that will or hate crimes that will continue to ensue on this platform. So
Absolutely.
all right, let's end on a happier note here. So the singer Pink, who we love and adore, announced her collaboration with bookseller Books and Books to distribute 2,000 banned books during her 4 concert dates set in Florida. I love this. I mean, this is something that we know your buddy Ronnie D is going to hate. But really, really exciting that Pink really values books and reading, and particularly the banned books. She partnered with Amanda Gorman, the beautiful poet, and is planning to distribute these at her concert over the course of the 4 days that she'll be in Florida.
Very cool. Very cool. I want to see Pink in concert. Have you seen Pink in concert?
I've never seen Pink in concert. I'd love to. Maybe I saw it like at a radio station concert, but I don't know. I need to. Yeah,
Maybe
we need to get tickets.
someday Pink can headline the Inclusive Collective Music Festival.
That's right.
That I'm planning, unbeknownst to you.
Sold out event.
Yeah. Well, Nadia, it is a very commonly known as Thanksgiving coming up, but wish our audience a happy and a meaningful Native American Heritage Day coming up in that space as well.
Same to you. Yeah. All right, folks. Well, that's it for Inclusive Collective this week. Just a reminder that if you're looking for DE&I and workplace culture strategy, consulting, problem solving, or training, you can reach me at nadia@nasconsultants.com and Rob at tacanoconsulting.com. Inclusive Collective is a production of Rifelion Media and edited by Ari Mathey. We'd love to hear from you, so please send us your feedback at inclusivecollective@rifelion.com. You can find us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and sometimes TikTok. Be sure to follow us on LinkedIn. You can subscribe to our Inclusive Collective newsletter. If you like what you heard, please be sure to rate and subscribe wherever you get your podcast today. Thanks again to our guest, Talia Cannistra. We'll be back next week. Thanks, folks. Also, I'm going to end with, in the words of Pink, so raise your glass. Did I hit that tone?
Yeah, nailed it. Thanks, Nadia.
Be well.